What's up everyone, it's Josh Tongla here, and I just want to say that I appreciate a lot of your guys' comments and private messages that I've been getting regarding my last video on how I started having out-of-body experiences. And of course some of you were open, and of course some of you weren't, saying that it's demonic and new age, but whatever, it's all good. Keep in mind folks that this is my personal journey. It's not yours. This is my personal journey, which means I don't expect everyone to be on the same page as me. But like I said, certain things happened in my life that eventually led me down this path. But yo, some of you guys seriously gotta question some of your core materialistic assumptions about the possibility of these things occurring. Because there's a lot of good and compelling evidence out there that just can't simply be ignored. While others out there gotta question their own religious assumptions, saying this stuff is dangerous or unbiblical just because you might have had some bad experiences. But you still gotta investigate these things thoroughly for yourselves. Because that would be like me dismissing what would be called spiritual warfare in Christianity. Because trust me, I know a lot of horror stories when it comes to demonic attacks that people have had, and I've seen some pretty crazy stuff myself. Folks, learn to separate truth from error and recognize that beliefs and perceptions matter. But anyways, it is encouraging to hear that some of you guys are excited to learn more about out-of-body experiences, and some of you even want to learn how to have them. But before I get into the teachings about how to have an out-of-body experience, I first want to address the issue of why. Why would you want to have an out-of-body experience? In other words, what are the benefits, if there are any, of astral projecting? So let me give you a few reasons of why you might want to be more open and possibly pursue having an out-of-body experience. Now, I've been researching the topic of NDEs and OBEs for the past 10 years or so, even though I don't talk about it much in my videos, but those who really know me know that there's a lot of stuff that I research, even for years, folks, that I don't even talk about it in my videos or even in my public speaking engagements. Anyways, when it comes to out-of-body experiences, I understand that not everybody's experiences are the same. But there are a lot of people, though not everyone, whose experiences are very profound, where their lives are affected dramatically in a positive way, where in a sense kind of give them a new reality. But of course, there are a lot of people who've had NDEs and OBEs who keep it to themselves. And even though some of them were stinking amazing and some of them even life-changing, who wants to be told that it's probably all in your head, or that it was all a dream, probably never happened, or you're just freaking nuts, you know what I'm saying? So once again, although what I'm about to share doesn't apply to every single person who's had an OBE, it does apply to a lot of people who've had them. So here we go. Here are some benefits, and possibly some benefits that you can have by having an out-of-body experience. So let's face it, we're all gonna quote-unquote die, right? Depending on how you define death. The truth is, there's a lot of people who are afraid to die, both religious and non-religious people. Now, if you're religious, you might be afraid to die because you probably think that you might end up in hell forever because you've sinned too much or you didn't believe the right things. And if you're not religious, then there's just that common fear of the unknown. And sure, you know, there are some of you who say, well, when you die, boom, that's it, you're 6 feet under. But then there are some of you who say that you believe that, but in the back of your mind, you're thinking, what if there is life beyond the grave and I'm just not ready for it? So believe it or not, the fear of death is actually humanity's most powerful causes of anxiety, where some people are so afraid to die that they're not even able to function normally or to live fully in this life now. So out-of-body experiences have helped remove the fear of death for a lot of people, because they now know that death isn't final, that this life isn't it, and that there's a wonderful afterlife that awaits them, depending of course on how well you've loved in this life, or even based upon your conscious state at the point of death. But that's a whole different topic for another video. And it's obvious that a lot of people who've had these experiences strongly believe in an afterlife, because they believe they've been there, or they've been somewhere not here, that they've experienced another dimension that gives them good reasons to believe that these things exist. But on the real though, removing the fear of death is stinking huge, folks, because once that fear is gone, man, you know, it could remove the fear even in this life now. So I believe that the more out-of-body experiences you have and exploring these other realms, then the more confidence you're gonna have when approaching death. And then there are some who've had out-of-body experiences who talk about how they've developed more love and compassion towards other people. Because as they were out of their bodies and after their OBE and were back in their bodies, they sensed this spiritual interconnectedness with others, this oneness with other people. And they also realized that their actions and how they treated other people mattered. That as a spiritual being, you are completely responsible for all of your actions, and that hurting and causing pain to others is ultimately self-destructive. Because supposedly what some of them have discovered is that whatever you do in this life will ultimately come back to you in the next life, where you experience the pain that you brought upon others, and that goes for the good that you bring to others as well. So some would come back from these experiences and start reevaluating their current relationships and end unhealthy ones and start seeking new positive ones that were much deeper than the superficiality that happens a lot within relationships. I mean, imagine treating others with the love and the respect that we would like to receive as well. Dude, the world will be a better place. Then there are those who would testify that after their out-of-body experiences, they notice an increase in psychic abilities, such as heightened intuition, telepathy, premonition, seeing auras, etc. But then again, not everyone claims to have this. Some of them actually acknowledge that they only notice these abilities when they're outside their bodies and on the astral plane. But then again, some do acknowledge that they do have these abilities once they come back to their bodies. You know, one of the most interesting benefits that I've seen during an out-of-body experience are the reports of those people claiming literal physical healing. It's a trip, dude. As I mentioned in my last video, what's kind of started me on this journey was the reality of my friend Willie Beeson's story, who suffered like crazy and was healed dramatically of a bunch of serious physical problems several years ago. You know, this is documented in his book called The Impossible Miracle. And I remember people back then even saying he was kind of like a modern day Job in the sense that he suffered so much and lost so much back then. You know, I remember back in 2006 when I first heard his amazing out-of-body experience story and his healing. And remember at that time I was extremely skeptical for 8 years, dude. But I remember thinking, you know, this guy could be lying, but how in the world do you explain that his body was completely healed and it couldn't have been done through any natural means or even through surgery? So you have my friend Willie Beeson's healing story, Anita Morjani's story, which is mentioned in her book Dying to Be Me, you know, where she had stage 4 cancer. And there are a bunch of other people as well who were given a second chance at life, either through spontaneous healings or because of rapid recovery because of these out-of-body experiences. Now, some out-of-body travelers also mention what would be called, you know, like a spiritual awakening, like this sense of enlightenment, this greater sense of reality, and this connection to something beyond their individual selves. That there's this sacredness to life, so to speak, about existence, about themselves, that they are more than this body, that there's more than this three-dimensional world. In other words, it's like what we used to say back in the day. It's like they were feeling that they were born again, but without the Christianity or any particular religion. Where some of them even become less interested in having like a high status or even money, where, you know, not that money's bad, but that money and material possessions no longer become the main focus in their lives, where they're no longer chasing after it anymore. You know, those who've had out-of-body experiences, especially those who've had near-death experiences, talk about how when they came back to their body, they had this greater sense of appreciation for life. But before, they felt lost and confused, kind of just going through the motions. Then all of a sudden they find themselves with a sense of meaning and purpose in their lives after these experiences. You know, like a lot of people, for most of my life, I tried finding the answers to what we would call the big questions in life through a religious text, and sometimes based upon other people's experiences or interpretations. Now, I was taught to believe such and such because the Bible says, or because this man or woman of God says so. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not like a lot of critics who just wants to attack religion and say that the Bible is just a bunch of fairy tales and a bunch of BS. But for me personally, you know, I believe there are a lot of good lessons and ideas that you can get from the Bible. But then again, if you use the Bible or any other religious text as your main source of truth, then you end up basing your beliefs upon another person's experiences and interpretations rather than your own. Because you don't want to keep assuming that there's this afterlife called heaven and hell, or assume that there are spirits called angels and demons, or assume that you're going to be reunited with your dead loved ones just by doing that, assuming. Because when you learn to lift up out of your physical body and explore these other realms, you can find out the truth for yourself, and you can say, I've seen it. I've been there. I've met other beings. And it doesn't matter if people don't believe you or they think you're stinking crazy. What matters is that you find out the truth for you and settling it in your own mind. I mean, think about it, folks. Why settle for all these theological and philosophical explanations that people offer to you? Imagine not just hoping anymore and saying, I believe. just because someone told you or because you read it in a book somewhere, but it's about coming to a place where you can finally say, I don't just simply believe, I know. I know. That's thinking powerful, folks. It's about seeking and discovering the mysteries of life ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is my purpose? Why am I here? Etc. Not just gaining intellectual information or theories, but gaining firsthand experiential knowledge, exploring this multidimensional universe. And last but not least, another benefit of astral projecting is realizing your own potential. That there's this power within all of us, within you, where you'll be capable of doing things by the power of your thoughts and being able to attract things based upon your conscious states. It can be mind-blowing, folks, where the potentiality in these out-of-body experiences translates and comes into this life here and now, empowering you to live life fully, which ultimately means to live a life of love and service to others, because that's what matters. You matter. And if you don't feel that way now, trust me, there are answers out there, or should I say within you, waiting for you to discover and remember. And remember. And that's it for now, guys. If you have any questions or a topic that you want me to talk about, mention it in the comments below, and possibly I'll talk about it in a future video. I told you there was going to be a different direction with my channel, so if you're still open, stick around, more's coming. And if this video was your appetite and gave you something to think about, don't forget to subscribe, like, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. Love you guys. I really do. Alrighty, I'm out. Peace.